Here are some interesting coins that were sold at a Heritage Era Coin Showcase auction. We'll begin with a Kennedy $half coin, struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1983. This coin is an off-center struck, where the clad planchet was misaligned by around 15% in the coining press when the coin was being struck, resulting in the off-center appearance where some of the details of the coin are off planchet. It was graded by PCGS as MS62 and by the conclusion of the auction had sold for $348. Then, this auction seemed to have a mini theme of doubled struck coins of varying descriptions, starting with this impressive double struck Lincoln cent, which received its second striking almost 70% off center. Graded by PCGS as MS64 red-brown, it was sold for $360. And then we have a double-struck Roosevelt dime, which is even more extreme, or far less so, depending on your perspective, I suppose. This coin, a 1999 dime from Philadelphia, was struck 95% off-center, just barely being tagged, again leaving a secondary impression of the date towards the left of Roosevelt's bust. Graded by PCGS as MS64 with full bands to boot, it was sold for a total of $367.20 to be exact. And then a 1980 Lincoln cent, but not just a double-struck error, but a flip-over double-struck error coin, where the coin was struck once normally, then, instead of ejecting, got stuck temporarily, flipped over, and landed partially between the coin dies once again, and was then struck a second time, but this time in the reverse orientation. As a result, the reverse of the coin has an impression of both the Lincoln Memorial and a portion of Lincoln himself, as well as the dates. It was graded by PCGS as MS65 red and brown and was sold for the sum of $528. Now for a 1979 Denver Mint Lincoln cent that was very obviously double struck, as in the coin was struck once normally and then it didn't quite eject fully from the press. A new planchet slid into the collar, but with this one still on top of it somehow, and then was struck again, this time about 70% off center. And because another blank was already in the collar, the reverse does not have a secondary impression on it, just a deformation of the first striking. It is graded by PCGS as MS64 brown and was sold for $660. And then we have a very curious Morgan dollar error to look at. This is what appears to be a struck through error, but the sheer extent of the occlusion is staggering in this case. Almost half of the details on the obverse is missing on this coin. This 1921 Morgan is graded by PCGS as AU58, so the coin likely saw at least some circulation, with wear patterns and contact marks plenty to confirm that as well. It was sold at auction here for $690. And now, it doesn't take much to see that there is something amiss with this 1978 Jefferson nickel. First off, it is struck in copper, making it an off-metal error. Then you can see that it is also slightly smaller than it should be, as it was struck on a penny planchet, also making it a wrong planchet error at the same time. This copper oddity was slapped by PCGS as MS62 brown and sold at auction for a total price of $780. And then another Jefferson nickel struck on a Lincoln cent planchet was this 1980 Philadelphia Mint coin. It wasn't quite as well struck as the previous example though. with considerably smoother or softer details on the Monticello building, and the legends on the coin being less legible overall. This despite receiving a similar grade of MS62 Red Brown from PCGS. $600 even was the final price for this item. And of course, error coins are hardly unique to modern coins, as this classic head half-cent can easily attest to. It was struck about 10% off center, and obviously spent a fair deal of time in circulation before some collector somewhere likely pulled it from circulation. As the grade of VF35 from PCGS stands witness to, when this coin made its way across the auction block, the final price came to stand at $840. Probably one of the more spectacular error coins featured at the auction was this 1998 Lincoln cent that was double struck, with a secondary striking taking place about 45% off center. Because this is a copper-coated coin, you can see the tear and lamination flow where the second striking took place, exposing the zinc core of the coin underneath in places. A beautiful double-struck error that was graded by PCGS as MS65 Brown and sold at auction for $1,140. Then we have an error coin that was not necessarily that dramatic, but is noteworthy for how rare and unlikely it is, having taken place on a gold coin, where, as you can imagine, quality control is much stricter when compared to normal circulation coins. Here there is a small retained struck-through error on a 2008 W gold buffalo, just above the E and S of states. It seems that a small metal shaving or something similar got stuck between the gold blank and the die when the coin was initially struck. Then it either moved or another one got struck into the bison's forequarters, leaving a scar of sorts on the buffalo itself. This coin was graded by NGC as MS69 and sold at auction for $3,600. A fascinating error coin is presented to us next in the form of a 1971 Roosevelt dime that was double struck about 35% off center, with the second striking not only rotated almost 90 degrees, but the second strike also resulting from a brockage reverse. The result is a perfect mirror image of Roosevelt's bust on the reverse side of the coin, a beautiful error coin, graded here as PCGS MS62 and sold at auction for a total of $4,800. Subscribe to WNN and feel free to watch another video about error coins right here. Next, for the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.